Okay guys, just because I want to prove this to you, 2:46 a.m, so it's only probably been 5 or 10 minutes, and we've just been descending for, I can't even touch the rotor through this. Look at that. I can put my fingers on the front rotors and it's not even hot. Alright guys, so we are currently coming in to Talbotville via McMillan's Road off Dargo High Plains Road, and test number one, even though it's 2 a.m. in the morning, is to see if I can get from the top, from where we aired down all the way to Talbotville campground, and minimal friction brake input. So my foot's just using the accelerator at the moment, using up to 30% regen capacity. So that's 30% of the electric motor's torque. So what the Shark can do around about 650 newton meters combined, so we're using about 30% of that to brake, which means no friction brake, so no brakes getting hot, just using the electric motors. So I'm going down this at the moment with no brake input, and I'm actually having to put accelerator input in order to stop the regen going too high. Like if I take my, for example, if I take my foot off the accelerator completely, it's just washing off speed slowly coming down this hill. So I actually have to input a little bit of throttle to stop it from coming to a complete stop. And I haven't even touched the brakes at this point. This is amazing. And we're regenerating electricity, so basically the battery's now at 70%. We started at 65% coming down McMillan's Road. I can hear the brakes on the Adventurer behind me. How much are you braking?
Only kind of when I have to.
Yeah, this is crazy. This is only up to 30% regen capacity, and I haven't even had to touch the brakes.
I've got to brake every now and again, like when the car starts to run a little bit, but I keep it under control mostly.
Even coming down here, so my foot's right off now. It's doing -40, but it's slowing down. So it's not picking up speed, it's not running, which is what we want. We want to be able to make sure the car doesn't run. I didn't know how good this would be until I was actually putting it into practice, like right now. I've got a 1.5 ton camper on the back. I'm already down to maybe the first 10% of the descent with the camper trailer on, and I haven't had to touch the brake pedal once. And I'm not in one pedal driving at the moment. I'm just in increased regen up to 30%. So it's another mode that we have at the moment. We're trying to see for an option for people that don't ever want to do one pedal but just want increased regen as an option for them, because this will appeal to people that are towing trailers and people that have to do long descents in the Shark that are carrying weight, because there are ways to kind of get to the bottom of tracks like this where they go on for 20 minutes and never have to use friction braking, or only need to use friction braking to come to a complete stop in one pedal mode. Complete stop in normal mode. In one pedal mode, you could come to a complete stop without using the friction brakes, but in normal mode, so where you use both the accelerator for accelerating, the brake for braking, you could pretty much 90% use regen to descend. Because the way that it is if you don't have one pedal driving and you're required to use the brakes, the regen will run off at about 15 kilometers an hour, and that's because we've programmed it that way. We could make it go all the way to stop, but it's kind of weird when you've only got accelerator input and then you come right off and it's just braking all the way to the end. Think of it like if you're coming to a set of lights, if we did have an on-road mode, if you're coming to a set of lights and then you're slowing down in normal mode, where the pedals only use the accelerating, you would have to start accelerating to make the car kind of keep rolling up to the lights, if that makes sense. So that's why when you have normal pedal use, you only want kind of regen increasing to kind of like, yeah, around about 15 kilometers an hour. So as you're coming into a set of lights, you can just, the car will just begin to coast after that. And then obviously once you get to 0, it'll creep just like a normal ICE car would, like an automatic would. It would creep forward if you take your foot off the brake pedal. Even though you haven't got accelerator input, the design is that it should creep forward. But anyway, we'll keep testing this. So the whole point in this test is using All Terrain X mod on all the tracks I'm very familiar with in the high country. So I'm doing that tonight and tomorrow. Right now I'm doing it to camper, and then tomorrow I'm doing it up Blue Rag, so, and coming back down it. Only to Trig Point. No brakes yet, and still cruising.
Learn to manage in first gear, but I do have to brake every so often when it starts to run away.
Yeah, see, I won't get that in this, especially if we put the gain up more on the regen. This is incredible.
Can't all have fancy electric cars, mate.
Yeah, but it's more that this car didn't come standard like this. We've had to do everything we have done to make this possible.
Well, then once you work it out from the dead back, I'm assuming you'll do the same thing, and then I know I'm good for my V3.
Yeah, this is amazing, dude. Amazing. This is amazing, guys. I'm not even kidding. I have no reason to fake this. Just for anyone who's going to say he's faking it somehow, you know, he's braking. I'm not. I have no reason to lie. I have no reason to make this up. This is truly working. And have a look at this, guys. So we've been descending for a while now. That's Bulltown Spur we're passing. But I'll show you. So far from the top of McMillan's Road to where we are now. And again, haven't even touched the brake. Haven't even touched friction brakes. We've just all been regen. We're now at 75% battery and still just cruising down. So the more steep it gets, the more regen we'll actually get. But the thing is, because it's only set to 30% in this mode that we're in now, that's our baseline setting, I can't go slower than what we're doing now. You know, we're doing anywhere between 20 to 30, 35 kilometers an hour. If we wanted to go slower, it's possible. We would have to increase the regen rate to maybe 35%. I reckon that would make a huge difference on this hill. We could probably go down at 15 or 20 k's an hour if we wanted to. What my thoughts are with this is, once I could figure out where the average baseline should be for the regen mode, what I'm going to do is we're probably going to make a couple of different settings, kind of like a brake controller, how you can adjust. But also for those who want to go a little more advanced, you could get like a little a dial knob installed where you can increase the regen multiplier. The range would be quite big, and that's what I'm trying to figure out what the range should be. Because if we don't figure out what should be the highest setting and the lowest setting, you can actually lock up all the wheels from that much regen. And the ABS still works when that happens, but that should never be able to happen because it's a form of loss of control, which we don't want. Like right now, look at what 30% is giving us. I've literally never had to touch the friction brakes the whole way down. Well, sorry, I shouldn't say the whole way down, I'm not at the bottom yet, but you know, up to Bulltown Spur so far. So basically at the moment, the All Terrain X module is not, we're not deciding when to regen. We're still letting the car decide when it wants to regen. And we're just basically increasing the gain on the regen. If that makes sense. This will prevent the car from basically, let's just say the car decided for some reason the battery's too hot, there's a thermal problem, it needs to turn off regen to protect, say, the electric motors. It'll actually cut it off completely, and and therefore the gain on the All Terrain X mod for the descent will also be cut off. So as a safety trigger, that's what we've done. We are still regenning. The hill's not as steep as it was before, and the speed's not as fast, so there's not as much regen, but we're at 80%. Still going down. Foot still chilling down here. Nothing's happening. 80% regenning. I mean, you can see straight away that my foot's not on the brake anyway, because there's no brake lights coming up on the Shark, on the dash, as a reference point. Sorry guys if I seem so excited about all this. I'd probably be the only person who would be so excited about regen braking this much. It's because I'm so passionate about the EV off-road scene that I personally believe the future is going to be around this type of thing, and I am so interested to get into it. Things like this, whilst we might be doing things that are substandard from what should happen, I just want to show people now what things could be like. So that's my drive for all this. And finally, with all this work that we've been working on, kind of finally coming into the picture, you know, I think that I think it's really good to see. Okay, it is interesting. So for whatever reason, from ever since we got to 75% battery, I have noticed that the regen turns on and off. So like, because like I said earlier, the regen's still being controlled by the car. We're just increasing the gain on it basically. And if the car decides regen should turn off for any reason, it still can. Like, our mod's not going to stop that. And I've noticed 2 times now where it's decided to turn off regen as we're going down. Now, I don't know if that's a thermal thing or if that's just a thing that the car does in some sections. That's something I'm going to investigate further. And this is why I'm doing this type of testing, because I've got to figure out, you know, from a driver perspective, let's just say we did make this as a feature in normal driving, so like normal, not one pedal driving, we need to make the owners aware that obviously regen can still turn off. So it's an A, you know, the braking is not a primary braking method. You still need to be attentive to friction brake if it starts to run away. But even if you had to touch the brakes once or twice down this hill we've been going down, that's nothing. You know, you probably do a very similar thing even in say second low. There might be some sections it gets really steep and you've got to just bring the car back slightly in range. So that's not going to be a hurting point. But what we do want to make sure is that the car is not upset by doing this much regen constantly. One thing that I do understand that Francisco was saying, he says the Shark is pretty, like the battery in the Shark is different than your ordinary batteries that you see around. See, right now it's doing weird things. It's really applying hard regen and then not, and then it is and it's not. I don't know if it's because the terrain's now we're starting to level off. Oh no, I know why. Because we're getting to that 15. Remember how I told you guys before, when it gets to 15 Ks, the regen, like the amplifying of the regen of our mod turns off. That's what's happening. I just realized we're getting to 15 kilometers an hour and it's turning off the gain and it's letting me run. And then obviously again, it's detecting we're over 17, 18 and it's applying it again. So that explains it. That does explain it a bit more. See, 16 Ks an hour now. I'm waiting for it to drop to 15 and then it'll probably start running again until it gets back to about 17, 18 and then the regen will re-amplify. Alright, so we're getting close to the bottom of McMillan Road. We're at 85% battery now. So we went from 65 to 85% for the descent from the top It's around about a 20-minute descent, I think. I haven't been paying attention. But regen's still kicking in. And what I was saying before, once we go too slow, because of the way it's programmed at the moment, regen automatically turns off when it's really, really slow, because we're technically not in an off-road mode at the moment. This is in trailer mode, and we're just testing. What the current baseline is for descent control with a trailer using regen to kind of replace what low range would normally do down a long descent to prevent friction brake heat up on the rotors and the pads. But this is spectacular. Still no foot on the accelerator or brake, and this is not one pedal, this is ordinary driving. This is just a mode we're going to test to see if we can make this possible for something like this, not for road use, just for something exactly like in this use case, where you want to get down McMillan's road, runs for 20 odd minutes, and you don't want to use the brakes, because that wouldn't be, that's not ideal. So many caravans that get brought down here overheat the brakes of many cars. Unless you know how to manage your low range, and actually you'd be surprised a lot don't. We see so many of them coming in down here with brakes so hot. I'm actually surprised I've never heard of a runaway on this before. So from the top to the bottom, the final result is this. I started at 65% regen, 65% battery stated charge. As I turned onto McMillan Road, started the descent down to Talbotville. I am almost at the bottom. We're currently at 86% battery, and our average speed on the really steep sections were about 25, and the most common speed where it's not on the steep sections is about 15. Now this can be improved, because this is only up to 30% regen, as that's our current baseline that we've configured or tuned the car to. We have options to probably have a dial to increase that gain, but we'll do a bit of more testing and a bit of research into this to see what would make sense. The next thing is I did have to touch the friction brakes twice, so there seems to be a little bug in the code, and while intentional, we put it in there for a safety precaution, and that is once it gets below 15 kilometers an hour, it actually turns off the amplification of the regen and goes back to standard BYD. And that is in case, let's just say we're regenning lots and I was dumb enough to forget to turn it off and I'm in a road mode. Obviously the development one can work in road mode, where the production or version that you guys will get will never work in road mode. This is just us, so we can test certain scenarios at the moment. But let's just say I accidentally left it on and I jumped on the road, the car wouldn't come to a screeching halt with me unexpectedly having that happen. It would just get to 15 k's an hour and then just basically coast. Gives me enough time to react to prevent a situation from developing. But what I'm more trying to say is, because of that, we had the car, when it got below 15 k's an hour, because of this condition, it started to run, and presumably it doesn't start the regen again straight away. It takes a little bit of time, because the car initially doesn't have high regen, and then by the time it's worked out, we're regenning again, it's triggered, and then it's done the amplification. I'm back at like 25 k's an hour, and because we're moving faster, the amplification only being like up to 30%, I don't think is enough to bring it back down. So I've just had to tap the brakes a little bit, like bring the regen up a little bit, bring the vehicle speed down to kind of something in range, and then the 30% is taken over again. But I haven't had to have my foot on the brake for probably more than 2 seconds or 3 seconds in 2 occasions for this whole 20-minute descent. So that is really good. I'm very happy with our first test with the trailer on this track. Now that we're at the campsite, see, now I have to use the brakes because we are likely, I think we're right. Cool, that's us right there, I believe, because that Bridgestone car belongs to us. All right, guys. Well, I better be quiet because it's nearly 3 a.m. and I'm rocking up to a campsite. So I'll see you guys later in the next test. Okay, guys. Just because I want to prove this to you, 2:46 a.m. So it's only probably been 5 or 10 minutes. And look, I can touch the rotors. We've just been descending for, how do I can't even touch the rotor through this. Look at that. So if I laser my brakes, 27 degrees. $22 degrees. All right. This is a car with not low range, but it will give you a reference point. 100 degrees. 100 and... So that wouldn't even be touchable. The back brake shouldn't be as bad. So, and we've been here for about 10 minutes. So that's the difference. I'll actually use this tomorrow as we do more testing, because it'll be interesting to see the difference. Sorry guys, it's like 3 a.m. and everyone's sleeping. So I'll see you guys in the morning.
Hardline, look at this. The Sharks are getting it done.
This is huge. This is a big step.
Yeah.
Yep. So use the bounce back. Use the bounce back.
Yeah.
And then throttle on from that. Let it come back. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Go a little. Yep. Yeah, that's it. You got it. Yep. There we go. Yep. Very good. So you see how the one pedal makes that so easy.